The culture lives on because the culture lives within us. And yes, we can change the external systems, but we also have to work on the internal systems too. Because if we believe in these contrasts, in those who have and those who have not, and we move from that place, we can just recreate it in a different way. And instead, I want to directly combat that. Hey y'all, I am Yasmin. I am a coach and a facilitator that focuses on embodied leadership and culturally aware empowerment. And if you're coming to this video, welcome. You're curious about capitalism, you're curious about anti-capitalism, you're curious about why or how I embed an anti-capitalistic lens into my work. And we'll be digging into that in this video. Now, this video is not going to be a complete in-depth history or explanation of these concepts. I'm going to provide what I feel is necessary to understand. And, I believe that when you approach anything that you're consuming or that has information, it's important to be in this present moment. It's important to be in this present moment specifically because you're not supposed to take everything in. I want you to approach this with your curiosity at the forefront and also to expect not to have taken the whole ocean of information that I'm going to provide. Notice what lands, notice what resonates, notice what perks your curiosity, and let go of the rest to come back to if you want to or to not, right? That is your right. I want to honor and give reverence to my lineage in this moment. Names I will not mention aloud, but I have mentioned them in other videos. So if you're curious, check out my introductory video, and I will also post any resources I reference down below. I'll also have timestamps so you could jump through this, right? Like you can be like, I'm done with understanding capitalism, I want to jump into anti-capitalism. Totally fine. You do what you need to do and receive what you need to do what you want to do and be fulfilled and be liberated and be great. So with that, let's start with a breath. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth with sound and just arrive. Capitalism, anti-capitalism, and my work. Let's start with talking about capitalism. Capitalism, and you'll hear me flipping through my notes throughout. Capitalism in its most dictionary book definition is the right to own and control the production of capital. Capital is anything that has value, right? It can be also money. And capitalism itself, in that definition, right, isn't fundamentally or inherently good or bad. I want to preface that. In America, we have capitalism and a free market economy, which is to say we have a free market. There's no control or minimal control over what is happening in the market. I can hand over my money to anyone to buy something that I want, unless it's illegal, X, Y, and Z. But fundamentally, it's a free market economy. Now, when you have capitalism and a free market economy combined, what you have is people who own the capital and own the means for production and people who do not. And you have these workers who craft the production. And I want to make sure that I say that workers don't have to be human. They can be animals. They can be the earth. They can be anything that provides resource. That's important. There's also the consumer. Something only has value in this world, in this capitalistic sense, in this free market sense, if it is of value to consume. So my attention is of value, and my attention is of value because you can sell me things. And that is why we have ads on like Facebook, right? It's why we have ads on YouTube, right? My attention ends up at some point being consumed in order to sell me something. Now, I said that capitalism in its definition isn't inherently good or bad. It's the execution of capitalism in its shapes that starts to create oppressive, harmful systems. And it does so by benefiting off of people who have and who are owners and people who do not have and produce. And these both can coexist in one person. So for example, an entrepreneur, solopreneur like myself, I am both the person that determines what my service is and controls the means for the production of my service of coaching. And I'm also the person that executes it. I'm the one that provides the service. And capitalism, we start to see it flourish under what I will technically call privatized consumerism and competitive individuality. And all of this, I give credit to this little book right here, How to Be an Anti-Capitalist in the 21st Century by Erik, Olin, Wright. So I'm going to put this in the caption to make sure that it's referenced, and I bring this in because a lot of these concepts you can go way deeper in this book and the shapes of it. Though that's not the only book that has influenced this video. I want to go back to this have and have-nots. You have people who own and control the means of production, and you have people who do not have and work, essentially, are the workers, are the people, or are the items, or are the things that are the means for production. And, when I was talking about execution of capitalism and talking about have and have-nots and it creating harm, it creates harm by really heightening the contrast of those who have and those who do not have. And it crafts these intricate associations that ultimately drive our behavior and further drive our consumerism for the means to craft and have more capital for whoever is creating the capital. And so you're either looking at the have-nots and not wanting to be aligned to them, or you are looking at the haves and you're aligning to them to have more, or to have your basic needs met. This is where privatized consumerism and competitive individuality comes in. Because, my father, for example, will say things like, they're poor, they're on welfare, look at how they live, look at how they treat each other. They're so lazy. You want to be like that? You want to live like that? You want to have a future that's like that? And notice that I didn't say any specific indicators of who that group is. But I know for a fact that in each of us, even for a slight moment, an identifier came out. An identifier, either race, gender, sexuality, socioeconomic class, etc., 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 came up. And for many of us, that's folks who are Black, folks who are poor, folks who are non-white and non-dominant classes, or non-dominant identifiers in our countries. And that's the contrast, right? So now you have a contrast of those people are harmed by this. Those people are hurt by this. Those people are oppressed by this. I don't want to be like them. I am going to make sure that I leverage anything I have as an individual to make sure I'm not there. And so you start to see how self-exploitation comes out, how hyper-individuality comes out, because me as the means of production, as my effort equals dollars, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I have more. And it drives us into this grind culture. It drives us into our own exploitation that roots back to slavery all the way back to the Caribbean, which is where it started before it reached the Americas. So if you're not looking at those who are the have-nots, you're looking at those who have. You're looking at those, I want to be smart. I want to be a billionaire. I want to have a Tesla. I want to have a Porsche. I want to own a house and I own my own business and be able to take whatever days off that I want to take and go on whatever vacations I want to have. And again, I didn't notice any identifiers there, right? Besides someone who has capital. So if in your mind identifiers came up, it's typically those of dominant classes. It's typically a white person. It's typically a male. It's typically a rich person, upper class. Like it's typically someone who is CEO suite. It's typically X, 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 Y, and Z. And by me seeing the haves and seeing what I'm dealing with, right? The challenges, the basic needs I'm dealing with, I am driven to be competitive, because to have someone who has, to have owners means you need to have workers. To have haves, you need to have have-nots in the way that it's executed. You need the contrast. And thus that means I need to be pushing myself forward and competing with whatever is pulling us forward in order to move forward and be more aligned to someone who has than someone who does not have. And if throughout this video anything is triggered in you, anything it makes you pause, anything, like lean into self-accountability and lean into tending to yourself. Come back to this video as you feel comfortable. This is just information. So privatized consumerism, right? I now have the means to pay for the Calm app because I say LeBron James is on the Calm app and LeBron James got bread and he is a have, not a have not. And me, I have the right to consume something. I have the right for no one to control what I have and how I spend my money. I also need to be competitive because I don't want to be a have-not. right? I want to be able to understand stocks, understand bonds. I need to get onto Clubhouse because Elon Musk is on there, and Elon Musk, has a lot. So how do I make sure I have? So the contrast really is where we start to develop the cultures, the systems, the ways of navigating. Because of the contrast is the execution of it all. It's what we talk about, what comes up when we're talking about systems. There's an either or, there's a have and have not, there's a rich and poor, there's maybe Black and white Americans, there is American citizen versus American immigrant, like the list can go on. If you have contrast, then you have who you do not want to be like, who you do want to align to, and you have your mind, your brain, your body has alignment to all of this from an experience, to some degree, to an experiential level, because you've experienced what happens when you fall into alignment with with being on the end of have not, the harms and the oppression and the systemic oppression that occurs in order for us to continuously have a have not. And that is where capitalism is destructive. So I'm going to read some things that I wrote. If we're socialized into believing there are those who have and own and those who do not have and work, we strive to be like those that have while ignoring that in order to have, we must have someone or something producing, including the planet. And if we want more, because we notice the haves have more, we push ourselves, we push the planet to the point of extraction and exploitation. We don't even look at it. If we're striving to be like those that have because of the harm, because we see the harm on those who do not have, we fall into the toxic individualism, self-exploitation, and skewed manners of relating and being that make us still unwell, unhappy, and unfulfilled. And so to approach self-development and my work from an anti-capitalist lens is to first say and acknowledge that the cycle of exploitation and oppression that we're socialized into in the ways that we execute capitalism, we participate in. It's within us. We engage with it. At some point, we internalize these ideas that start to shape our cultures, that start to shape the ways that we are to continue the ability for there to be a have and a have not. It's also to say we have the ability and capacity to decide to be different. And this something different, now going into anti-capitalism, is to do and take a variety of tactics. Maybe we're taming the harms of capitalism. An example of this is community fridges. People who put out community fridges so that we are able to, for poor people, for people who do not have food, without question, there's always access to food. Because we know capitalism and the systems that be and that aren't going to take care of them. We might try to escape capitalism, right? So you see billionaires start to pull themselves away from certain societies, pull themselves away from certain ways of being. You'll see people start to live that van life, right? This is how you get out of capitalism. Dismantle capitalism. So work with the game, right? That is capitalism, and try to change it from within. You can also revolt from capitalism, right? Cause a revolution, cause a destruction of it. Or you can erode. Again, these are all in the book that I'm referencing. And eroding is combining all of these tactics as an anti-capitalist approach to capitalism. And it's not just capitalism, it's all of its counterparts, as bell hooks great, amazingly teaches us. It's embedded. It's the imperialist, capitalist, colonist, white supremacy culture and patriarchy that we exist within. All of these craft and intentionally create what we have and what we are dealing with. So as we come to this final part, why does this matter to my work? It matters to my work because I don't believe in the contrast. I don't believe that there should be a have and a have not. I believe in a world where we have people who are liberated, who have the means to be liberated, who have the means to flourish and be well in their way of being well. And my imagination stretches to the point that we can have that and be that and internalize that now in this current moment. And I see how an experience within myself, we internalize these kind of elements of capitalism, of, patriarchy, from the way that we believe or don't believe in ourselves, from the idea of imposter syndrome, the idea of what leadership is supposed to look like, who it's supposed to manage, who it's supposed to control, who it's supposed to X, Y, and Z, to how we even relate to others, right? How we relate to our parenting, how we relate to our participation or lack of participation in our communities. We internalize beliefs that fundamentally perpetuate and engage and allow us to participate in capitalism and all of its counterparts. I see how cultures are built on the associations between the have and the have-nots and the fears we deeply move from because of them. Deeply. I see how we give up our power and agency to the beliefs and values normalized into our societies and relationships, all to end up still not well, not resourced, not flourishing, not having access. I see it in myself. I see it in my friends. I see it in my family. I see it with every person that I interact with. The culture lives on because the culture lives within us. And yes, we can change the external systems, but we also have to work on the internal systems too. Because if we believe in these contrasts, in those who have and those who have not, and we move from that place, we can just recreate it in a different way. And instead, I want to directly combat that. I want to combat that in the way that I am, in the way that I work with people to develop and empower them. I engage with people and relate to people in general. I want to directly combat that. And I want to live into a different world where our values are different. I believe that part of that work comes from what we believe within us, from the intrapersonal part. About who we are we are with each other, what we are, and what we're capable of. And my imagination is in the internal. So I come to this with an anti-capitalist lens because that's, if any contrast exists, that's my contrast. Because it's the contrast that allows me to know what liberation is, what it is not, and what it can be within us in this moment, in this present state. So I hope that this starts to cultivate something in you. Maybe there was something that you were curious more about. Maybe there was something that you just were like, yes, preach, right? Like maybe there was something that you were like, absolutely not. I do not believe that, right? Whatever responses came from you, whatever responses came from you, I want you to dig into it. I want you to continue, if you feel called to work with this. And hopefully, at the very least, it gives you an understanding of my anti-capitalist lens, my liberatory lens in the work that I do, so that you come to it knowing that we're in alignment, or knowing that there's something there for you to have and to live into the life that you want to have, the power that you want to have, the fulfillment, the joy, the presence that you want to have. If any questions come up, any curiosities, what do you want to hear more of, for example, drop them in the comments below, email me, and let's keep the conversation going. I'm thinking about my next video talking about the cycle of socialization, because I think that would be fun and that would be important. So let me know if that's of interest. And with that, thank you for sticking around. May you receive everything you need, and may you be empowered.